Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Monday SITREP. My name is CB Harris. On today's show, we're going to talk about the differences between rights and privileges, because I get the feeling that there are a lot of people, particularly maybe the PC police and the anti-gun people, who are a little bit confused as to what the differences are between them. And later on in the show, on Life or Death Files, an 11-year-old girl abducted in Tennessee is rescued by armed heroes. And finally, on What's New, we're going to talk about a new optic. I'm kind of thinking I might be interested in something like this for my AK-47. Okay, rights versus privileges. Now, let me just put it right up front right here. If you are not the kind of person who wants to watch somebody get on their soapbox and get on a rant, you may as well just shut the video off now, because that's what I think I'm about to do, because it just drives me absolutely crazy. I don't understand. Rights versus privileges. There's a difference. There's a strong difference. So let's talk about it individually. Let's talk about rights. What are rights? Well, what we're specifically talking about here is our constitutional rights, our rights as American citizens, our right to keep and bear arms, our right to believe how we want to believe and practice the religion that we wish to. All of these things are rights, and it is given to us not by our government, but by virtue of us being American citizens. It isn't the American government that gives that to us, it's us. We give that to us. Our forefathers, our country's founders, they saw fit to write what they call the Bill of Rights. It is the first 10 amendments to our Constitution, where they spell out exactly what you have the right to do, and they limit government. These first 10 amendments, they actually limit government. It's not putting limits on you, the people. It's saying, government, you will stay out of religion. Government, you will stay out of the press. It's telling the government what it can't do, except for the Second Amendment, which is a little bit different. The wording's different. It actually spells out what the people have the right to have, which is keep and bear arms. So it is something to consider, that it's not a gift from your government. It's nothing like that. Our rights are ours to be lost, okay? So they are yours. The only way it can be taken away is if you do something that would jeopardize it. You commit a crime, you kill somebody, you do whatever it is, yes, you can give away those rights. But that was a choice that you made. If you are a criminal, you've chosen that lifestyle, well, you know what? You are risking those rights. Now, compare that with a privilege. A privilege is something that is a gift. You have to meet certain requirements, and then it is given to you. I say it's given to you by the government, but truly it is the American taxpayer that is giving it to you. Maybe facilitated by the government, but things like welfare, okay, that is a privilege. You need to meet certain requirements in order to get that. And it is gifted to you by the American taxpayer through the American government. So how the PC police, how the anti-gun people have done this, what they do is they want to change your perception. They want to change the perception of the American, just average person, into believing that our right to bear arms, our right to believe how we wish, our right to speak our minds, that is a privilege. They want us to believe that. They want everybody to believe that it is something that is given to us by a benevolent government that can be taken away from us. And that is not the case. It is not the case. So let's take a look at some examples here. So let's look at freedom of religion first. So freedom of religion. We are allowed to believe what we want. But then you have the politically correct crowd who would say, well, that's not right. If you believe a certain way, well, that's kind of mean to another group of people possibly. If you believe one way, then what about these other religions that believe some other way? That's not fair to them. Well, but that's the whole point, is that I'm allowed to believe how I wish to. And for a government to try to restrict what my beliefs can be is just not, that's not what our Constitution is about. That's not what our country is about. Our country was founded largely in part on religious freedom. The freedom and the separation of church and state, it is not to keep religious people out of politics. It's to keep politics out of religion. It's to keep the government from dictating what religious beliefs and what religion the people will have. It's to eliminate any restrictions on that. So we're seeing it happen, though. I'm not sure of the time frame, but it was a year to maybe 2 years ago. The mayor of Houston demanded all the sermons from local churches. And why would she do such a thing? Well, it was because they had enacted a law, not just her, I guess, but they had enacted a city ordinance where you could not speak out against the LBGT crowd. Well, that's their belief. And she wanted the sermons so that she could then impose restrictions and fines on these churches. That is absolutely government getting into religion. And I just can't believe that things like that are happening. It was struck down. A court of law decided, yes, that is definitely unconstitutional. You can't do that. And thankfully, cooler heads prevailed on that one. But we also see it when it comes to the Second Amendment. So what is the goal of the anti-gun crowd? They hope to universal registration, eventually eliminate guns completely, but they're going to do it through trying to register guns. Okay, they want us to have permits, background investigations, and you name it. And before long, you have to jump through so many bureaucratic hoops that it becomes burdensome. It becomes a privilege instead, because you must qualify to get it. Well, that is not what a right is. That is what a privilege is. And that is what I think that they're actually hoping, is that they can change the perception into one that the government is gifting you the right to own a firearm. And they're not. You have that right purely by the fact that you are an American citizen. That is what gives you that right and the freedom to have it. Okay, so I apologize. I will get down off my soapbox, my high horse, if you will, and let us go on. The life or death files. A 11-year-old girl in Tennessee abducted by her uncle and saved by 2 armed heroes. All right, so again, this is out of Tennessee, Rogerville, Tennessee. This happened on May 4th, not too long ago. I'm sure you saw this in the news. It was quite big in the news. Her uncle actually kidnapped her, and from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, they were sure that, there was an immediate threat to her, and yeah. So obviously the manhunt was on. They asked local property owners, please check your property, especially rural areas. We need to find them. And 2 people were doing just that. And I'm going to tell you their names because they are heroes, and that is Donnie Lawson and Roger Carpenter. They were checking the property in a very remote area, and they happened to find this girl, Carly Marie Trent, and her uncle. And they held the uncle at gunpoint until police could arrive. So it's one of the things that I don't think that the mainstream media is going to really talk about, is the fact that Mr. Carpenter, he is a Baptist minister, he was armed. People aren't going to talk about that because it doesn't really fit with the agenda. So I know I'm starting to climb back up onto that soapbox, so I'll stay off of that. I'm glad that she is okay. I'm glad that things worked out for the good on this one. I hope and pray that she is going to be able to mentally recover as well, because this has got to be a very, very stressful thing, and it will affect the rest of her life, I'm sure. So my prayers go out to her and her family. Next on what's new, it's a rifle scope that's new, and I'm interested in it possibly for an AK-47.
So, what's new?
So this is the Burris XTR2 that we're talking about, and this is the 1 to 8 power. This is a new scope. The 1 to 5 power is already out and available, but the 1 to 8 is brand new, and I honestly, I don't even have a price for it. That's how new it is, apparently. You can choose between a front focal plane, a rear focal plane. Looks like there's going to be a couple of different reticles available. You're supposed to get a true 1 power magnification, or I should say no magnification. And what this does is it really allows you to keep both eyes open when shooting, because if you're getting some magnification, it really throws you off. So having things truly appear the same is a very important thing when you're keeping both eyes open. It has an illuminated reticle, and as I said, a couple of different choices. The price is really, it's unknown right now, but the 1 to 5 power is about $1,100 with a mount. That's what you can find it for online. I think the suggested price with mount is about $1,300, so you can find it a little cheaper than that. And I'm going to guess that the 1 to 8 is probably going to be somewhere around there, maybe a little bit more, but somewhere in that same range. And I'm really interested in this to see how this would work for AK-47. I want something for my AK. I think maybe the 1 to 5 power might be enough for that, but the 1 to 8 just really, it really interests me. I'm curious to see how that would work out. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. If you did, be sure to like and share it. If you're not a subscriber, why don't you go ahead, find that big old red button down below that says subscribe on it, give it a click, and then come back next Monday for another Monday Sit Rep. And remember that your mind, your brain, that is your most important tool, and it is vitally important that you're armed with information. Until next time, take care and be safe. Charlie Bravo out.